So when did you start snail racing?
In the summer of 2010, there was a fete being held at Congham in Norfolk, and I knew they did the snail racing there, so I thought I would go along. Our family went along, and so I took one or two snails with me, and one in particular seemed quite lively, so he was entered. I called him Sydney. He won his heat, and then I had to wait while 9 more heats were run off, and then eventually he won the championship.
What was the secret to your success then?
Well, I kept Sydney warm before the heat, and waiting for the final, I kept him warm again. I sat in the car with him in a box, and just to keep him lively, really.
So if you keep him warm, you basically got a winner then?
I suppose so, yes. That was my theory anyway.
Did you do any other sort of training regime?
I took him uphill so he could do some high altitude training, and taped a piece of lettuce to the top of a French window so he could get some muscle to climb up, and fed him on rocket.
What made you sort of give it up then? What made you just take part once?
Well, I think as an adult you can do it. You can take part once, but it would be a bit sad to take part again, wouldn't it, really? My grandson took part the following year. He took his snail Optimus Slime, but he didn't even move.
We are the Village Green Preservation Society. God save Donald Duck, Vaudeville and variety. We are the Desperate Dan Appreciation Society. God save strawberry jam and all the different varieties. Preserving the old ways from me.
So how did it start then?
There was funnily enough, it was another eccentric farmer called, I think his name was Tom Elwes. I'm fairly sure that was Tom Elwes, and I think that was probably 45 years ago. Because the trouble is, when you get old, your memory goes to pot. Like everything else, it goes south and falls out. And he started, and it had humble beginnings, but I mean, it was a big thing, and then I suppose in some respect, but of course, the media got hold of it, and it's gone, phew. And now, well, you know what it's like, because you're here doing what you're doing, so. But it's fascinating. I think people tweet about it. I don't tweet because I can't do that stuff, but no, I think if there was probably someone that was good with all the IT stuff and did all the tweeting and the Facebook, and I mean, there'd be thousands and thousands of followers. But I don't know. I don't even think that's necessary, because you just do get so many people that come, and it's fantastic.
What is the competition each like here? So have you been down several years now? Or?
I watched it other years, and it's the same formula each year, yes. Mainly it's children taking part. It's about 10 heats, so they usually race about 200 snails in all.
Do you know how and why the sport took off? Do you know where it's
No, I think it was introduced to Congham after somebody had seen snail racing in France, and they thought it would be a good thing to do. And then at some stage it was somebody approached the Guinness Book of Records, and it was made the official snail racing championships for Britain.
And I think one of the great things about the sport is, because it's an unknown quantity, it's not like having a racehorse that you've spent £2 million to getting it covered by Alcazim or Frankel or something like that. You're not guaranteed anything. The same with any breeding. Like with the cows, you always try to breed the perfect cow, and you'll put different bulls on different cows to try and achieve that end. And it's the same with snails. You can put 2 world champions together and get a pile of poo, or you can put 2 ordinary rank outsider snails together and get something magnificent. So it's great, and that's what keeps it. I think that's what keeps it good, because you never know what you're going to get.
Speaking of the French, have you ever eaten your snails?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Was it before or after the race?
Before the race, yes. I wouldn't eat them now.
Are you too attached to them?
No, I was actually forced to try a Somerset snail that Phil Vickery cooked, and it didn't really taste of a lot. It was nice, but it wasn't. No, it's not. I'd rather have a bit of beef.
Yeah. Do you feel bad about eating them, or because?
I must admit, I look at them out there and think, I love my bacon, I love my roast beef, and I learnt AI, artificial inseminate, in a slaughterhouse in the Midlands, and no, I don't. If I thought about it too much or for too long, I would probably be vegetarian. But I know that they do things quite nicely. It's not like it's very inhumane. They do a very humane job. It's funny people do it, but no, I don't think about it too much. No.
Ready, steady, slow!
Have you heard of the Underground Snail League then?
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't. I have. In fact, I know several people who are in there.
Harry.
Right, Mike? Yeah.
Mike, yeah, come on in.
Yeah.
All right, yeah.
Sorry, it's just a few of us.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
Right, thanks for letting us come in today. Is anybody else turning up?
Yeah, there is another couple of races coming, and that's why I invited you down a bit earlier, because they don't want to be on camera, basically.
So there's no chance they'll be able to come on camera then, like get you guys racing?
I've got to respect their wishes of anonymity, really.
So, what is it you exactly do here?
Well, we race snails.
Why'd you have to do it in secret then?
Well, unfortunately, the gambling element to it is it's illegal. So we have to do it sort of behind closed doors, sadly.
What do the legal snail racers think about you using snails for illegal gambling then?
I think you'll find that some of the legal snail racers find their way to these events as well.
What opinion on it? What do you think about how they treat the animals and the gambling side of it?
I know some of the people through lots of different ways, and because they know what that I know, there is a little bit of respect. I don't know what goes in every single plot. I can't lie and say I do, but the people that I do know who do that sort of thing, for the most part, treat the snails properly.
Do you get into much trouble from it?
Listen, everyone that comes here knows that this is my house and my house rules, so we rarely get any trouble.
How do you enforce it then?
Well, as I say, people know the rules here, and they know that if they step out of line, it will be dealt with swiftly. This is, your proper racing table. I'll show you precisely how it all lays out. And this is the standard you would get at any race.
Well, so it's the same as they use when they do it at their official races then?
Yeah, legal racing. And because you have to have the same size, it has to be uniformed. And it's quite difficult sometimes to get it all nice and this is what makes it happen. This is the
Well, so the water that gets sprayed on.
it's snail juice, if you like. It just helps the snails get along with traction. They slide along a bit faster, which is what it's all about.
Where they've used performance-enhancing drugs on the snails. Have you come across this before, and what do you think about it?
Well, yeah, we've obviously come across it in the World Championship, and we adopted drugs are out, so we did random sampling. We eradicated drugs from our sport a long while before they even got to athletes. So I am absolutely appalled that people can abuse animals in that way with substances. I think it's disgusting, absolutely disgusting.
Right. We've heard there's been performance-enhancing drugs used on snails. Do you use them?
I mean, yes. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. And the philosophy here is that if all snails are on performance-enhanced drugs, then they're all on a level playing field.
Also, we've heard of GM snails. Have you seen any of those before trying to be raised?
I have seen them, I'm aware of them, but I've not seen any at my races.
Oh yeah, we had fun with GM, and there was I mean, I can't remember now exactly because I'm like my hair. That's why I keep my cap on because I'm going bald. There was a lot of crosses. I think some of the, we had a camel cross which was really good over long distances. It wasn't very quick, and then we had. And this is how serious the laboratories are with the testing that we do, and with the drugs and everything. Because you want to keep things right. The best one was I think it was the shark cross with a snail, but they could find all this stuff out, and that's science. But I don't understand science either. I'm a man of the shovel and poo type person,
Last year, Radio 4, one of the programmes, wanted members of the public to see if they could develop a scientific idea and test it. And the winning one was a lady who wanted to know whether snails had a homing instinct. And amazingly enough, they do. If you take them up to about 200 metres away and leave them, then sometime later they will arrive back from the place where they set off. But if you take them further than that, then they're completely lost and they don't make their way back home.
Small ones. This is a senior. This will die at the end of this year. That's a senior. If I pop them on here, you better. Yeah. That's a junior one. See what I mean about because it's early in the year, and of course every breeding is different. It's like people, they grow up, but you can almost see quite vividly, not brilliantly, but that is a junior. This is an intermediate, and that's a senior.
And so the size of them depends on
the age. Yeah, because they only last 3 years. I mean, like I said, we've had snails that have lasted 4 or 5 years. The best family I ever had was Dominator, and they had shells like German helmets, German soldiers' helmets. It's a little bit similar to that, but more pronounced.
Yeah. What one would you put your bet on?
I don't know. Experience and past would tell me to stick a couple of quid on this one. Not because, this is a nice snail, and that could possibly do very well. But you look at if you look at the shell. Funnily enough, the Dominator family, who I was talking about in my favourite family, they had these shells, but their drag coefficient was poor, but they still race like hell.
And who does the drugs? Is it you that gives the snails the drugs, or is it someone who comes, or?
We just lace their food with it. Obviously, you can't have too much in there. It's just have to be, you need to know what you're doing with it. Absolutely, because the last thing you want to do is kill them.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you mind it not being used then?
Oh, excuse me a second. That's one of my...
You're going to leave it?
Yeah, I don't want them being hurt. Let's get them back into the middle. There we go. And you. I'll be very careful when picking them up. There we go. Sorry about that.
But a reason racing is purely the British Garden snail, is it?
Yeah, it is. And Helix expersa. It is the garden. Now, people try and race all sorts of different things. Little Roman snails, all sorts of stuff. But they don't race. You just race garden snails. People have I've had, you meet some funny people. I have people who bring giant African land snails, and I say to them, you can't race it. Well, it's a snail. I say, yeah, but you imagine, because we start in a race from an inner circle to an outer circle, and we've had to enlarge the course over the years. The world record was set on an old course. We now have a new course. The inner circle is a foot diameter, so you can get 15 snails in. And you put an African land snail, and I said, you think what the animal liberationists got to say if they see a great big snail trampling all over little snails? People haven't got any. So I say, no, if you want to race an African land snail, race with other African land snails.
Do you get a lot of serious races then?
Oh yeah, you do get serious races. Most people take it for what it is. They have a laugh, enjoy it. You win, you lose. But there are people who do get quite upset if they don't win, and not just the youngsters. Believe it or not, it's not just the youngsters that have the tantrums. That's the funny thing. There's grown-ups that go, and it's weird.
How do you deal with it then when people sort of...
Tell me walk off. No, I don't. That was just for the camera. No. There isn't really a good way of dealing with it. You have to just let them get on with it. You can't, I mean, with the media there, you can't say, off, sling your hook. Obviously, you just have to. But essentially, generally, what happens, they make themselves look complete idiots and then embarrass themselves and then walk off. Which is probably the best way, instead of me interjecting with some verbal, isn't it?
Well, I've been doing the illegal stuff for about 6 years now, but all in total about 11 years from racing snails.
So you used to rail snails legally?
Yeah, that's how I started, and that's how I got into trouble and banned for putting on gambling on the side.
So snail humping, what is it and why do they kind of do it?
Snail humping is a race term. A lot of people prefer to say piggybacking or hitching a ride. You know, it's a bit, but I've always called it humping. I mean, that's before it was politically correct got going. It's just when they're racing, some of them just like to get on the back of someone else, and sometimes you get 3 or 4 all together in a sort of a menage of limbs and stalks and shells and slime. And that's it, really. They just stay there and... But it's not very... It's just a race term that's evolved over the years, and of course people think it's funny. Some people are disgusted by it, but, you know, that's people. You can't please everybody, can you? It's just life.
So if you don't mind me asking, you mentioned that you make quite a bit of money from it. How much money do you actually make?
Yeah, it does sort of depend race on race, really. I mean, the amounts will... Actually, I didn't realise quite how long we've been in there. I mean, we have got a race on this afternoon. There's quite a few people coming, and they're not going to want to be on camera. So it's a bit rude, I know, but I'm going to have to ask you all to leave now, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay, lovely. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
It really
cheers
has.
for letting us.
No problem. Like I say, it's nice to put it on the map, but
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's been
Alright.
interesting.
you're welcome.
Definitely a different experience.
Well, if you've got a few quid spare, you can always come along to a race.
Yeah, we might pop back.
No worries.
Thank you. Cheers.
There's personalities.
Yeah, they do, actually. Funny enough, they do. Some of them, you know, when they're on your hand, and especially the ones that you know, they'll wink. You know, they'll drop a stalk, and, you know, and you can... They know that you're there. It's like those animals, when I talk, they know it's me, and they know it's either grub time or I'm showing someone round or whatever, but they know. They're not stupid. No animal is stupid. It's people that make them look stupid or try and... But even chickens, any animal, they've all got brains. Just got to treat them with a bit of respect.
Preservation Society. God save Donald Duck, Bonneville and Variety. We are the Desperate Dan Appreciation Society. God save strawberry jam and all the different varieties. Preserving the old ways from being abused. Protecting the new